In unverified claims, Russia says it has repelled what it describes as a major offensive by Kyiv in the Donetsk region of Ukraine.
There's been a dramatic rebound in the number of airline passengers, with companies in many regions returning to profitability after the pandemic. Venetian culture is being lost under a sea of tourism, but some business owners are fighting back in their own small way.
Images of fighting in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region. Russia says it's repelled what it described as a major offensive by Kyiv in the region and to have killed hundreds of Ukrainian troops. The claims could not be independently verified. The region is one of 4 annexed by Russia last year.
Целью противника являлось прорыв нашей обороны на наиболее уязвимом, по его мнению, участке фронта. Своих задач противник не добился, успеха не имел. Потери вооруженных сил Украины составили более 250 человек личного состава, 16 танков, 3 боевые машины пехоты, 21 боевая бронированная машина.
Ukraine has not commented on the fighting, and it's unclear if the attacks were the start of its planned spring counteroffensive. It's also not clear why the Russian Defense Ministry waited until Monday morning to announce the attack, which it said started on Sunday.
Rescuers were digging through rubble in the Dnipro area of Ukraine throughout Sunday after Russian strikes on Saturday. The regional governor said beside the death of a 2-year-old, 5 more children were among the 22 people injured when 2 residential buildings were hit.
Я бігла, стала чуднищем, заходила, бігла з підстанції. Під мене, від машини кидалася, додому, в мене дитина сама дома була. Дитину решоткою тягнули, розкрутили, витягла дитину з вікна. В реанімацію.
Путін б'є по цивільним. Подивіться, де тут знаходяться військові частини, де тут об'єкти, які можна було б вважати законною ціллю. 2-поверховий будинок, де живуть діти і де живуть старші люди і жінки.
Across the border near the Russian town of Belgorod, residents seek shelter from the intense shelling from pro-Ukrainian forces. Donations of food and other basics are being handed out to those who have been forced to leave their homes.
Ну, конечно, состояние ужасное, но держимся, пытаемся себя крепиться, потому что есть дети, это дает стимул дальше жить. А что будет, конечно, не знаем, но будем держаться.
The Belgorod region has been hit by drone and artillery attacks from Ukraine for months, but the shelling has never been as intense as in recent days.
Russia's defense ministry has claimed that Kyiv has launched a major attack in the southern Donetsk region using tank and mechanical units. Now, Ukrainian armed forces say that they have no information on large-scale offensive in Donetsk region. On Sunday, Kyiv urged silence about any plans to reclaim territory that Russia has seized in the 15-month full-scale invasion. The Institute for the Study of War says Ukrainian forces conducted local ground attacks and reportedly made limited tactical gains in western Donetsk region and eastern Zaporizhia region on the 4th of June. Geolocated footage posted on Sunday shows that mechanized Ukrainian forces made limited advances northeast of Rivnopil. Russian news bloggers claim that Ukrainian forces attacked in this direction and captured Novodarivka and Neskuchne. These are the settlements at the border between Donetsk and Zaporizhia regions. Some Russian news bloggers claim that Ukrainian forces broke through the first line of Russian defenses and advanced from 500 meters to 3 kilometers in this area. A Russian-appointed official in occupied part of Zaporizhia region told Russian state media that Ukrainian troops are attempting to break the defense line here to reach the Azov Sea coast. Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin claimed on the 4th of June that Ukrainian forces may have regained positions in southwestern Bakhmut, supporting repeated Ukrainian reports that the Ukrainian forces maintain positions on the southwestern outskirts of the city. On Monday, he said that Ukrainian forces had retaken part of the settlement of Berhivka north of Bakhmut, calling it, quote, a disgrace. Ukrainian officials have continuously reported that Ukrainian forces maintain positions in outskirts of Bakhmut since the 20th of May, when Prigozhin claimed that Wagner forces seized the entirety of the city.
Information warfare is taking an increasingly important place on the political agenda of Russia's neighbouring countries since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Politicians talk about propaganda and disinformation, while the analysts note that pro-Kremlin views are actively promoted by local political forces.
When the Georgian Dream government repeats lines that are clearly anti-Western, so insulting American officials, insulting European Union officials on a regular basis, saying that America is trying to draw Georgia into the war. These narratives, very few people believe them, but some have started to believe them.
La Russie qui, en fait, non pas essaie de convaincre les Géorgiens, mais en fait travaille avec le leadership, en quelque sorte. C'est exactement ce qui est en train de se passer en ce moment. Il faut vraiment suivre ce qui se passe en Géorgie. On risque de connaître des semaines et des mois à venir agités, tendus.
Pro-Russian materials play their role in confronting the opposition and the authorities in Moldova. Here, politicians also complain about propaganda.
The biggest threat from the standpoint of the current Moldovan government is a comeback of the old kleptocratic, oligarchic and Russia-oriented political forces to power. And I think this is the biggest issue in the sense that they use or instrumentalize these Russian narratives to further their own domestic political agenda.
To combat misinformation, Moldovan President Mayu Sandu has proposed a national centre of patriotism. She recently accused Moscow of preparing a coup and trying to destabilise the situation in her country. Russia rejects these claims, declaring that it does not interfere in the internal affairs of other states.
In what's being billed as a spectacular recovery, air travel passenger numbers have almost returned to pre-pandemic levels, according to new figures from the International Air Transport Association. The body says that globally, the industry is also rapidly returning to profitability. Airlines and tourism were particularly hard hit by COVID-era restrictions on international travel. In 2019, just prior to the health crisis, air companies carried some 4.54 billion travellers. The rebound has been dramatic, with numbers forecast to reach 4.35 billion by the end of 2023. IATA says the industry will see only a modest rise in operating profits this year of just over 1%, and it warned that not all geographical regions will see the same level of positive results. But it will be a huge relief after the cliff-edge plunge of 2020, with its losses of around 130 billion euros.
A Hong Kong appeals court has rejected a conviction of deceiving the government imposed on an award-winning journalist in what has been seen as a rare victory for media freedom in the Chinese-ruled territory. Bao Choi was found guilty in 2021 of misleading authorities in an application for access to vehicle ownership records. At the same time, she was investigating the perpetrators of a mob attack on anti-government protesters. The judges unanimously ruled in her favour.
Indigenous people and their leaders have marched through Brazil's largest city, Sao Paulo, to protest a bill that is set to limit their land rights. Last week, lawmakers approved legislation that bars claims on indigenous territories if they were not physically present on them on October 5, 1988, the day Brazil adopted its current constitution. Bill 490 was passed in the lower house but still requires the approval of the Senate and Brazil's President Lula da Silva.
Veteran AC Milan forward Zlatan Ibrahimovic announced his immediate retirement from soccer at the end of an emotional night at San Siro Stadium on Sunday. Speaking following his team's 3-1 win over Hellas Verona in their season finale, the 41-year-old Swedish striker said he was saying goodbye to football, but not his fans. His contract with Milan expires at the end of June and will not be renewed following a season plagued by injuries. He made only 4 appearances for the team this season after undergoing a knee operation last year.
In Venice, during the high season, the number of tourists visiting the city each day equals or exceeds the number of its inhabitants, around 50,000. It is, of course, a benefit to the city's economy, but it also represents a threat to the way of life and identity of this unique city. Marcello Strozzi is 45 years old and has been living on Giudecca Island since his birth. The family business where his mother used to work as a hairdresser closed in 2019 after 50 years of activity. Despite numerous offers for his shop to set up bars, restaurants and souvenir shops, he waited for 4 years for the right offer.
Volevamo trovare qualcosa che andasse bene e che fosse qualcosa di nuovo, qualcosa di diverso, qualcosa che sia più utile alla città, alle persone che comunque anche ci vivono.
Isola della Giudecca, proprio di fronte al centro storico, una volta brulicante di veneziani che andavano a fare la spesa nelle salumerie, nei fruttivendoli, adesso una meta turistica con bar e ristoranti che affacciano sul canale. Però alcuni veneziani, nel loro piccolo, stanno cercando di invertire la tendenza e di preservare l'identità e la cultura della loro città.
Eventually, for Marcello, the right offer did come in. A bookshop selling art books, a place where people could meet, talk and browse.
Vedo proprio questo turismo di massa che non guarda, non ammira quello che potrebbe veramente rimanere nel cuore e invece si limita a immortalizzarlo in un telefonino.
Perhaps the old Venice is slowly disappearing, not only because of the excessive number of tourists visiting each day, but also because many of those visitors prefer looking at their mobile screens rather than interacting with the city and its inhabitants.